So without further ado, we want to go ahead and get started. Our topic for this afternoon is rising above COVID-19 to provide quality, affordable education. And we realized that a lot of schools had questions on how do we reach our students? How do we care for our families and our staff? If we're a school that's working in a low-income community or we're a low-cost school, how do we do this? Like, how do we support our community during this period? And so we are so privileged to have two speakers with us this afternoon who are doing just that. They're providing quality, affordable education in low-income communities in Abuja. So I want to introduce our speakers, and then we'll pray and we'll go ahead and get started. So we have the privilege of having Mrs. Irene Bangwal with us, and she is the co-founder of KNOSK 100 Naira a Day School, Secondary School in Abuja. And we also have Fumila with us, who is the director of Casa Chat School, which is also in the Kuje community in Abuja. So we're so grateful for the two of you for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to learning from you and growing with you during this period. So I am going to turn it over to Mr. Shegun Oludipe, who is the National Administrator for ACSI, and he is, oh, I think his network cut out. Yeah, so because he's not here anymore, I will go ahead and say the opening prayer, and then we will get started. God, we're so grateful for the opportunity to meet with each other this afternoon, to connect and to continue to grow together. I pray that you'd be with the speakers this afternoon. I pray that you'd give them wisdom, that you'd give them the words that they need to say, and that you would just enrich each one of us with the knowledge and the information that they're going to share with us this afternoon. I pray that you would provide stable network this afternoon so that we'll be able to hear the speakers loud and clear. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Irene. She's going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, Ma.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Is it okay if I share my screen right about now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Just give me a second. All right. Turn that off. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Irene Bangwell, and it's an honor to be here to be a part of the ACSI meeting. I want to thank everyone for making the time to be out here today. I hope my screen loads faster. All right. So my name is Irene Bangwell. In September 2019, by God's grace, my husband and I set off to go and start a secondary school for low-income kids in Kuje. So today I want to explore some of the challenges and opportunities, especially around how we're providing education to them during the lockdown. All right. So yeah, my name is Irene Bangwell, co-founder of KNOSK 100 Naira a Day School. So today I want to talk about why we started the school, the peculiarities of our student, how we're dealing with the low cost but capital intensive combination, because the fact that we are local schools doesn't mean that we are not using money to run the schools. I'm going to talk about the pillars around what we've used to offer our remote learning and what our next step is. And I know that I have just a few minutes to do this, so I'll be as snappy as possible. So let me start by telling you what the KNOSK 100 Naira Day School is. The KNOSK 100 Naira Day Secondary School is Nigeria's first indigenous pay-as-you-can, pay-as-you-go, crowd matching support school, low-cost premium private school for children from low-income families. I'll just tell you what that means. It means that when parents come to fill out forms in our school, they need to tell us how much they earn. And we look at their earnings, we look at how many children they have in their household, and that's how we are able to determine what their school fees is. And so they get to pay as low as 6,000 Naira a term. So when we establish how much they can pay conveniently without running into trouble, we now step it further and ask them, how do you intend to pay? Do you want to pay daily? Do you want to pay weekly? Do you want to pay monthly? And do you want to pay once a term? Because we have children of cleaners in our school, they earn between 8 to 12,000 Naira a month. So they cannot mop up 6,000 and pay us at once. So we have to look out for what works for them. So we've been able to do this also with the support of people who co-sponsor children. We call it crowd matching. We go and look for a crowd, we look for 6, 7 people, they come together, they too contribute 100 Naira for each child, and then they pick one child and sponsor. One of the things we have tried to stay away from is asking people to adopt children as a whole. So we really love the idea that anybody's contribution contributes to a child. So you're a co-sponsor of a child, no matter how low your support is. We've gotten donations of 200,000 for 20 children at one point, 400,000 for 20 children. And we've also gotten a donation of 700 Naira. So it means that everybody has a place, whether you can do the big donations or whether you can contribute whatever you can. For us, the KNOSK School is where Nigerians are rallying around each other to ensure our next generation of children are getting quality education. And this is really important to us because statistics shows that 83% of Nigerian children go to private public schools. 83% is huge. And we're already in a country that people know that the public school system is not very dependable, but they also cannot afford private education. So we are very particular about that 83%, because for us, they represent our workforce of the future. So providing quality education for them is utmost priority to us. We started last September and God has been really faithful to us. So I have pictures here, our children having a virtual reality experience, a picture of a co-sponsor, children at the assembly, and a regular classroom picture, all right? So what's our vision as a school? Why we started our school? Let me bring this grid down, all right? Why we started this school was because we sat down and said, if 83% of Nigerian children go to public schools, it means the workforce of our future already has a problem. If you're an employer today and you're listening to me, you know how difficult it is to really find good hands to get the job done. Then picture if in the future, 83% are in that category where they are called unemployable. It does two things to us. We have a very low quality workforce. Our output as a nation and a continent will be really, really poor. But then it also means that poverty will be escalated. It means children from poor homes will give birth to children in poverty, and the poverty will be enormous. I mean, right now we're the world's poverty capital, so it should be a problem to us. What kind of future we are preparing our children for? And for me, I believe that education is the one ticket out of poverty. When education is positioned right and in the right context, it can make a big difference for a child. So our vision is an Africa with highly skilled and innovative young people and workforce developing, transforming, and prospering her nations. As a school, our mission is to adapt Nigeria's curriculum into an action learning curriculum. I don't want to go into that today. That's not what we are focusing on. But our priority has been that if kids are poor, there's a kind of education they need to snap. There's a kind of education they need to break out. And our curriculum is too traditional to do that. So we have the KNOSK curriculum, where we're translating Nigeria's national curriculum into action learning, skills development, and all of that. So that's our mission. Everyday lesson, how are we translating that into something that equips a young person to break out of poverty, to think in a particular way, to know things that are beyond what the curriculum provides for them to do. So that's what we are. And we hope that through this, these young people acquire the knowledge, skills, and resolve that they need to break out of poverty and empower our nation in the process. So this is our philosophy at the KNOSK School, all right? But it usually was never online learning. It was that, what if the cure to cancer is trapped in the mind of a child who cannot access quality education? But because online learning has brought a new reality to us, we put this twist, which is that, what if the cure to cancer is trapped in the mind of a child who cannot access online learning? So this is what we set out to do. Before COVID, one of the things we had to do was sit down and understand the children that we are called to educate at the KNOSK School. We had to think about, why did we start? We started because we want improved curriculum, improved knowledge, improved skills for these kids that are from low-income families who don't have the alternatives of going abroad for master's and first degree. How can we give them quality education? But we also needed to look at their current reality. They don't have much. Some of their parents are not so proactive about their education and all right? So we need to look at the funding gaps, but we also need to find a way to bridge the gaps. It means when we're providing them this education, we're doing mindset renewal, we're looking at the fact that they're adolescents, we're creating a support system for them. We're trying to create a school that they look forward to coming to so that they feel cared for, they feel attention. Don't forget that we are catering for children who ordinarily went to public schools where there are probably 80, 100 in a class. Whether they come and they go, teachers don't know, people don't pay attention. But now they're in a school where teacher to student ratio, staff to student ratio is 5:1. That means if a child comes to school and they're not feeling well, they get attention. Someone would care enough to ask, how are you doing today? You know, so that's what we're doing. But we're also recognizing the learning gaps. Many of these children are coming, they're in JSS1. Our school is a secondary school. We have only JSS1 at the moment. You find that they're reading at grade 4, grade 3, right? So, but you have a curriculum to teach them JSS1 content. It means you have to be innovative about how you're pulling what the government says you should be teaching now in recognition of the children's capacity. So this is what our teaching reality used to be before COVID. That was even when we were looking at them face to face. So what did we do when the lockdown came up and the kids, we couldn't access them? How do we provide education for them that achieves the goal of why we started, understands where they are, provides for their current reality, is bridging the learning gaps, their self-esteem, character, financing, all of those things. So we needed to, whatever we decided to do for them in COVID, had to take into consideration their reality. So this is where we are right now. So what remote learning model was best suited for our students had to have, whatever we decided to do, had to bridge learning gaps, had to build self-esteem, had to build character, we had to sort the financing, learning had to be actionized, and we needed to back up whatever we're doing with data. So what we decided to do was launch something we called the Action Learning Workbook. So let me tell you a little bit about how the workbook works, because I know I just have a few more minutes to go, all right? So we had to factor the following into the workbooks. We call the workbooks Action Learning Workbooks. First step is that we use storytelling. We use storytelling across every subject. We use storytelling because there's no teacher in front of this child. This child is not reading at the capacity that he should be reading. So you cannot start with definitions. So we had to use things the kids were familiar with. We wanted to do a revision on area with them. We had to start with, let's say your father wanted to buy a rug carpet for your parlor. I remember when the maths teacher was developing that content, and he wrote, he used the example of a father that bought land. Let's measure the land. And I called him, I said, look, see, you're coming from a private school that the reality of the parents there used to be buying land. Let's start with buying carpets. That's the one our children can relate to. So we're using storytelling in math, we're using storytelling in English, we're using storytelling across all the subject and all. So, and then secondly, we had to scale down on the maths. Already these kids, they've been with us just 2 terms before the lockdown. If they were not so excited about maths, they cannot suddenly become excited when there's no teacher in front of them. So we had to scale down the mathematics process. In fact, I was shocked last week when they came to turn in their last workbooks, they were saying they enjoyed the maths. It's not easy to put maths give a child maths to do when a teacher is in class, let alone when they're home. So we had to scale it down, bring in fun stuff, make it simple, simplify the very simplest format so that they could follow. And then we had to space out. One of the things this taught us was that many times the timetable with which we used to teach in the normal classroom is not realistic. At least that's one of the things we took away from the workbook, because if you want to teach it at the pace that the child actually gets, then we will not have as many topics as we currently do in the scheme. Then the workbook had to have a workbook type of learning. When you write a paragraph, you ask a small question so that they answer. So you're following engagement to see, did they understand these 2-3 sentences I made before this one? Then we now also recommended learning structures for them. We know these are the kids selling in the market, going to the farm. Many of them are maids. Nobody may be really invested in whether they're reading or not. So we had to create structures for them. We asked them to choose whether they want to do it 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, 1 hour in the night, because we told them to learn, spend 3 hours every day. Only 8 subjects in the workbook, by the way. So we told them pick 1 hour morning, 1 hour afternoon, 1 hour night, or you pick another option, do it together, but take 45 minutes break between the lessons, or just go. But we wanted them to choose what worked for them. We also introduced hackathon. Hackathon is a core part of our schoolwork because our vision is about building them, helping them acquire knowledge, skills, critical thinking, problem solving. We're really big on that. So they work in teams during mainstream school. They have to do school project. They have to take something they're learning in classroom and go and apply it out there. So because that is an integral part of what we do at the KNOSK, we have to find a way to integrate it into remote learning. I'll show you some pictures as we go. We had to integrate it into remote learning, telling them to study the businesses in their community. They had learned about customer service in business studies. So we're now asking them, observe a business in your community and take note about how they can improve their customer service, how they can increase their customer numbers, because we want them to start getting used to contributing to their space. We are aware that many times the kids that we cater for in low-cost schools feel like victims. So that's a fundamental thing we're also trying to deal with at the KNOSK, helping them know that they're complete human beings, they can make a difference, they're gifted, and they have the capacity to build into a really awesome future by the grace of God. So because we're not in mainstream school, whatever we do, we have to also integrate hackathon, and that has gone so well so far. Then we introduced something called social dashboard. One of the feedbacks we've gotten from our students is that school is a happy place for them. Yes, we provide for the 100 naira a day that they pay, we provide uniform, we provide books, they get a meal a day, and the girls get sanitary pads. While that is really special, God has helped us to create a welcoming atmosphere. So the kids don't want to be on holiday, let alone this kind of long process. So because it's always been a happy space, we had to integrate a happy element into the workbook so that they look forward to it. We called it the social dashboard. So we would ask a question this week and tell everyone to respond to the question. Then in the subsequent workbook, we'll feature different people's feedback just so that they could laugh about it. It could be a joke. It could be, what did you miss about school? Stuff like that, just so that they look forward to the workbooks to see what other peers are kind of saying, even though they're all at home. And then there's assessment, on-the-go assessment. Assessment feedback, yes, the same way. Assessment from the student, feedback from us. So assessment from us, feedback from the student. How the assessment works is for every subject, the student get graded for completion of the workbook, how organized their work is, and then accuracy, because we know that effort should be rewarded as well. But then we also have feedback at the end of every lesson. Remember when I said earlier that we're very particular about data? At the end of every lesson, we made sure that they were able to tell us if a particular lesson was easy for them, if it was difficult, but we're also able to say, did you have time to do this lesson? Because we know they're running errands a lot, so that we can say, okay, this lesson was difficult because this child was busy, or this lesson was difficult because our wording, we need to scale it down some more. And this has helped us. In fact, this week, we started a control experiment where we gave out, yesterday, we gave out the workbook for this week has no action learning. It's straightforward, the way textbooks are written, the way notes are written. And we're going to be doing this for 2 weeks to test whether comprehension levels differ in action learning. That is where we use storytelling and when we don't, because we're very particular about data. One of the things that is guiding our work is that We're not afraid to make mistakes. We're not afraid to be wrong. We're here to serve the children, and getting feedback on the field is very important to us. So I'm going to just show us a few pictures about what's happening. So this is a typical, the first picture here is a typical feedback form. Was this lesson easy for you? Was it difficult and all? This is our hackathon task for each week. This thing you're seeing here is our schedule, like a timetable, how we recommend for them to learn. Yep. Yeah, because we are also a school that tries to adapt what is happening in society needs to find its way into classroom. We have to talk about puberty, consent, the big picture that God has for you, your dreams, and how poor choices can affect you. I'm sure many educators here may have heard that during the lockdown, there were girls that were offering sex for food and all of that. So these are some of the realities of rural communities and suburban communities. And it's important for school to learn its voice, for us to say what we stand for, but to also tell the children what they're capable of and show them all the possible positive choices they can make at this time. So this is a business studies lesson and stuff. But the last picture here is what I'm really particular about. What we did with every cover of each batch of workbook. Yes, we send these workbooks every week, by the way. So what we did we do with each batch of workbooks is to put a picture that encourages reflection. So this was the week where the rape and the consent cases were so crazy. So we put up a picture that talked about choices. There's a quote behind it that says, first we make our choices, then our choices make us. So somewhere later in the workbook, we asked them to think about that quote and share what that means to them personally. So these are some of the things we've tried to do to make sure that even though we are learning at home, the fundamental principles of the KNOSK school and what we're trying to do with them continues to follow us. So this is our how you fed this week, our report sheet and stuff. The picture in the middle is us telling them that there's always room for improvement, keep going. The theme for that particular workbook was improve. And then finally, what are we thinking about post-COVID-19? The first thing is, of course, school safety. We want to pay attention to school safety, all right? One of the things we've learned is that our action learning workbooks were probably even more effective than all the teaching we used to do in class. So we are thinking about that the workbooks are here to stay. You know, we want to take out the burden where teachers have to write notes on the board and students are taking notes, to allow it to be an opportunity where the notes are already in front of them. Let's talk, let's debate, let's argue, let's try to bring in our opinions, because one of the things we try to do at the KNOSK school is to make sure children are able to air their thoughts on different issues, because we want the education to sink. We want it to be something that shapes their personal values. So we think that the storytelling workbooks have come to stay because we like what we've seen so far. Let me just highlight that one of the things we've seen is about school children who, okay, like when they did placement tests, they were really excelling. But when school started and they got into circle of friends, their grades dropped. So we are seeing during the lockdown, they're learning better. And then apart from the surveys they do in the workbooks, we have a survey they fill online when they come to drop their workbooks, where we ask them to tell us how the experience has been. And one of the things we're hearing is that many of them are saying they're learning better because there's less distraction. So we might shuffle the classroom when they come back, moving friends to another arm so that the others continue. COVID-19 has shown us that we've not been doing well with technology as an entire nation. We've not integrated enough. So one of the things we're learning is that by God's grace, we want to have a projector in every classroom. We want to push the boundaries for using education tech tools like Google Classroom, Jamboards, and all of that. I really want to see how we start picking lessons and making videos for them that our children can access. And then finally, we want to start introducing CBT because COVID-19 taught us that so many things can happen online, and we want to be able to embrace that. And we want to also explore more ambitious leaps on our curriculum scope. Yes, we want to stay within the ambit of the curriculum, but COVID-19 has shown us that, man, as a nation, we are behind. The world is far ahead of us. So we want to sit down as a team and look at our curriculum content and say, look, what is it going forward? I mean, what can we do? How can we make STEM more exciting? What are the resources out there that we need to start using? So that's it for me. I'm done. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't take so much of our time. I hope I worked within my own time. Thank you so much. I'll be happy to take any questions afterwards.
Thank you very much, Ma. We really appreciate all that you shared with us. It was very practical and very, very insightful. So I hope we all learned a lot during this session. So we want to go ahead and have Fumi Akinwale come up, and she's with KNOSK School, also in Kuje, in Abuja. So welcome, Fumi. Okay, my network got connected. Go ahead and get it.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. And a big thank you to ACSI for giving us the privilege to share our story. I was also saying well done to Mrs. Bangwell. Fantastic presentation and a great job with what you're doing with the talking books. Okay, can you see my slides as well, Sarah?
Yeah, we can see your slides. Great.
So my name is Fumi Akinwale, like we shared earlier, and our school is Untitled School. We're also close to KNOSK School in Kuje, Abuja. In the next 20 minutes, I will be sharing our story and how we've been able to rise above COVID. I know we are still working through the challenges. There are no silver bullets, but just to share our story. Untitled School is a Christian school. We are in nursery and primary school in Kuje, and one of our biggest goals is to make education affordable. So we thought one of the reasons why we started is we knew or were convinced that education can be affordable, good quality education can be affordable, and that is why we started. And another thing, we wanted an education that was relevant for the African continent as well as globally competitive. So before we started, because there's the KNOSK services, we had a sister organization that had been into education, training, and consulting for about a decade. And training is one aspect, but we thought a deeper approach to training is where you can also say, come and see this. We are doing it in the school as well. I'm hoping you can hear me. We can see you. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's
your
right.
notes are also showing.
Okay, sorry. Let's see what that is. Let's see what that is. Okay, but I'll just continue.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm trying to do screen share you now. Yes. Okay, I don't know. Go ahead for time. So like I was saying, we sat down, 10 years of training, what are the gaps in the education sector, and what can we do differently? So some of the things we decided was vision I'd already said before, to be the model of sustainable school that provides quality basic education in Africa. Our mission is to nurture children to attain their full potential. My teachers are trying to give me feedback on what is showing on the screen. I'm hoping, but I'm using my phone. I'm hoping you're seeing what I'm sharing. So what's unique about us? We sat down, identified the gaps in Nigeria as a country and in Africa. What do we need? What foundational skills do children need, both for now and the future? And we thought to raise confident and articulate communicators, problem-solving servant leaders, responsible custodians of the environment, and purpose-driven individuals are critical things that we need to do. And that's why we're doing. Can you see the screen now? The full screen, but you can see the screen. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, I see it.
Okay, and our motto is learning for service. We are big on Mark 9:35, where Jesus says that if you're going to be the greatest, you have to be a servant of all. If you want to be the greatest, be a servant. And so for our children, in addition to being good communicators, which the average Nigerian child is not, or was not based on the research we've done, we thought that the children that we have, like Mrs. Irene mentioned, needed to be problem-solving servant leaders, and they needed to, when they're in the community, both now and when they grow up, be thinking of solutions. So like now in the time of COVID, not just be depressed, that there's nothing we can do about it, but be solution providers wherever they are through the process of critical thinking and all. And we are patriotic, we are big about solving Africa's problems, and then whilst being relevant for the global context. Our values are service excellence, patriotism, sustainability. We're a Christian school, so we are guided by the principles of the Bible and of Jesus Christ. Most schools here already know the challenges as a result of COVID-19 that we've all faced, and we'll speak a lot to that. So the focus of our presentation is more on the challenges and the things that we have done and we are attempted and things we are learning from. So we see that there are constraints in implementing the vision of nurturing these children to maximize their full potential. We see that because of COVID, new skills are required. In the earlier presentation, we heard about ICT skills. Yes, we had been using it on a certain scale, but teachers need to step up, schools need to step up. We need to adopt ICT more. And even though we are low-cost schools, because yes, we are also low-cost, the world will not wait for us. So the question is, how can we get technology to achieve learning, or work with technology in order to facilitate learning? So we are going to learn. Now children are home. Technology is a reality. A big question right now is that a lot of people cannot afford it. How can we afford it? In March, COVID came, February, we didn't expect it. So a lot of people say money, low income schools, we've done different approaches, but at some point we need to face the technology question. Some other challenges that our stakeholders have had. Learners, we're a community school, it's good to mention that as well. So we are in an estate, so we are working and we are driving past, and our children are like, we want to come back to school. They want to hug their teachers. They miss social interactions, and our school is a fun place, because one of the things that was very important to us is that children love school and love the space. So a lot of our children have been, telling their parents they want to go back to school, but that is not the current reality. So children miss social interactions. We know that as a result of COVID, reduce physical activities. We encourage our parents to take their children out. For those people that have access to internet, we've not explored that much. We're going to start in September because parents had complained earlier about data cost, and we didn't, our learning has not been facilitated a lot by the internet. We know that there are risks attached to that. For teachers, we've had to place an increased demand on our teachers. ICT skills, creativity skills, because we use a lot of videos, which I'll explain later. Our parents the lessons that we did, or the approach that we used, which I'll explain on the next slide, some parents have complained about reduced income, which is a reality as a result of COVID-19, low literacy, low skills to support learning, and then for regulatory bodies, it would have been nice to get information earlier. And we are in new school as well. It's good to mention that we started in March 2019. So I want to be proactive, dynamic. And COVID came, and the official resumption date passed before we heard anything official from the government. Of course, we had already done our third term, then we had no third term, and we worked around it. How did we solve the problem? For the core learning, we developed a program that we labeled KNOSK Community Learning Program. And how did it work? So our target parents, we have two sets of people in school. We have what we call middle low income class parents that are economically active and that can pay the sum that we charge, which is discounted for the value that we give. So we have that category, but we also have an active scholarship program. So for the people on the scholarship program, they automatically joined the community learning program because the scholarships are covered for a year. So we have individuals supporting scholarships for parents that cannot pay, but we ensure that parents contribute by either contributing the uniform or one aspect of learning, or you must commit to bringing the child regularly, providing good food, healthy meals for your children. So our first approach was to talk to parents differently. Our scholarship parents were fine. Our paying parents, some of them could not afford, some of them could afford. But what was the program itself about? Now, the category of parents we are dealing with, most of them did not have smartphones. Most of them did not have devices for their children to learn online. So what we decided to do was what we called work packages. So on Monday, we send work packages home. What are work packages? It's a mixture of worksheets that are very interactive. In order to also reduce costs, because we could not be printing, we also use their exercise books to create different activities that is relevant for their class. So we are in nursery school and we're starting primary 1 in September. So it was more worksheets, fun worksheets based on where they had stopped in the term. But just to be upfront, we know that in order to teach new content, we had challenges and we tried, but it didn't work. We learned early that you can't use worksheets and activities and sending workbooks home to teach new content. But what also helped was that this whole program was just not worksheets and packages going on Mondays to return on Fridays. They come back on Mondays. And we schedule them at different times. So different families do not meet at the gate and they do not even come in. So the parents come to the gate, they get the work, they go back home. And that really helped and we've gotten positive feedback. But another major component of what we did were video lessons. So our teachers became artists and actors overnight. And all the things we have learned around make your classes engaging, interactive, dramatic, creative, plays, fun, using props, using resources came to life because we did video recordings that were, in fact, during the period, we've come up to close to 30 rhymes of our own. And then based on the learning outcomes, so if it was sounds, then we did our own songs for sound. We taught the concept of blending. And I'll explain how we shared that because we sent those through non-data channels. We didn't use anything data because of the complaint. So we said to parents that were on the program, whatever you have, we are willing to make you work. So we had the videos, we edited, because ACSI suggested that we should be detailed with the how. So we took those videos on our phone. We used a regular Microsoft 10 laptop, a laptop running on Microsoft Office 10 and Windows 10, I think that's what it's called, and the normal video editor. We edited, and there you can get 3D graphics, you can do a lot of things. You can write, you can create animations that will be dancing and moving. We are happy to share those videos for schools to see as sample, a couple of them. But we said to parents, you can bring your flash drive if you have, because most of our target parents have televisions. Many televisions have USB components where you can just put your USB in it and it will work. So they brought flash drives. Some of them brought the smartphone that they have. And on Zenda is very fast. We transferred some videos. We're exploring SD cards. So any way you can get these videos that would work, come and get it. And we'll tell the parents what they should learn part-time. So some were learning table manners. And you know, when we are passing by the village, we hear feedback from the parents say, do you know my child can tell you verbatim, even when we are eating on the dining, not even on the floor. My child is saying, stop smacking, do not smack. Or when we are doing domestic animals, we have found the videos very effective. And they are fun, so the children want to watch it again and again. So even going forward, we're going to explore that a lot. Then we also use something called the Mavis talking books. Sadly, my screen and the sharing is not working, but the website is there, so you can follow the link. We're happy to share the link. The Mavis talking book and pen is an offline learning tool where there is a pen. I can even try to put it on. The pen would read to the children what's in the book and teach the children new content. I know it is better seen, so you can check the website. It's there, you can see sample lessons in the book, there are teachers. When you click on the teacher, the pen can say, today we'll be learning sounds, and we'll be learning SAT or whatever the sound is. And the pen would tell the child when to talk, and would tell the child when to try an activity. So it is highly interactive. I will talk about the cost later. And sometimes there are games in the book, there are stories in the book. For primary school, we think that it's a good tool, and for the class before primary one, different schools call it different things. And even younger children, it teaches them colors, animal sounds, and all that. The cost, I don't find the cost prohibitive. We have a couple of sets in school, and we send it home to children that are part of the program to learn certain things. So we'll say, be guided with this page and this page. We would ask questions based on what they read. But it's a fantastic tool to check out for every school. It's called the Mavis Talking Book, developed in Nigeria, because we're also using these books and pens for another project that we are doing within the community for an NGO. We'll talk about that on the next slide. Another thing we are thinking of doing, and I would suggest to nursery schools, because there's a big challenge when it comes to small children. How can you engage them with a device? And for how long can you possibly engage them? Khan Academy Kids is a good app to have as part of your holistic program. So we know that one way might not work in reaching these children. That's why we are having all these things you see in the bullet points, all these approaches. So at the end, the child, if you don't connect deeply with Khan Academy Kids, you will connect with the worksheets and the video lessons. But to be clear, like we said on the slide, the Khan Academy Kids is new and it's optional because, like I said earlier, most parents right now do not have devices that can use these things effectively. But for those that have, so we are not doing a one size fits for all. We are working with families. For those that have, we have them on the program whilst trying to explain to every parent that technology is a reality. Let's see how we can get a device. We can even work with you, and the how I'll share later. There are other inactive options, like Mrs. Bangwell mentioned, WhatsApp, Google Meet, Zoom Classroom. We've not explored that actively because of what we found out when we started the program. I think I'm doing okay, or maybe I'll skip certain slides if I need to. But for administration here, for teachers and the team here, this season we're a Christian school, gave us time to bond a lot more around our faith and discipleship, increased prayer and Bible study time, and only staff come to work. And not all staff, we must be open and upfront for financial reasons. Some staff, especially those that had to travel, not a lot, are not parts of the current program that is on. But from August, we are thinking to bring all teachers back, and I'll explain why. Financially, so normally we had a strict policy of paying, our fees are very low, and we tell parents what we would advise is plan ahead. We can plan with you ahead. Save ahead for school fees is very important, so don't owe us. So we have a strict policy of collecting fees, but for this COVID season, we are receiving payments monthly. There's also a lot of brainstorming going on within the team. We are working, like we're really bonding as a team in order to meet the learning challenges that we currently have. Like I've said, we have an active scholarship program. But another thing that I think that is working for us is that we are not thinking we are a school and we are just this box. Children are here and we can do nothing. I must acknowledge that it helps that we're consulting before now. So we have had, and in addition to consulting, over the years, and last year when we started, we also have a close relationship with the public school that is closed. So we did a summer school last year. We got an NGO, partnered with the NGO. So the same NGO that came last year called us and said, is there anything you can do for these public school children within the community? Since we know that you maintain a strong relationship with the community. And we said yes. And because it's NGO funded, the same talking books I spoke about earlier, we gave it to families and left it with them for 2 weeks, and the results are amazing. Like even the eagerness to learn, the hope that went to the community, 40% increase in literacy levels, and the children are so eager to learn. So for the children in the public schools, what we did was partner with the NGO. We gave them talking books and pen based on their households. And I think that schools can sometimes think beyond tuition and school fees and think of other sources of income in order to support, especially low-income schools. Some NGOs, especially this season, are actively on the lookout to partner with schools. And it's not at the detriment of your health and not being aware of the COVID challenges, because what this required is just for you to take this pen and this book, observing all the NCDC guidelines and drop it in the community. And guess what? For the school, it was a major source of income. So our teachers were able to pay them as well from that source of income. So another thing that's happened, to the glory of God, is within the season that is COVID, I would say that even our normal school fees will not have generated as much income as we have gotten, because in addition to the NGO, we also got a grant from Union Bank, and that's another thing to share. So I think that school managers, school administrators should also collaborate and keep their ears open. You can go on the internet, and we should talk to ourselves more. We should collaborate more. So in the period, Union Bank, which is the bank we bank with, said if there is anybody, it wasn't just limited to education, that is doing anything to rise above the challenge, share what you're doing. And we shared our video lessons. We shared that we started a little farm that that our teachers and everybody working can eat from their vegetables. There's pepper, there's groundnuts growing. And we also shared groundnut oil, because that's another thing that we did during the season. So we had a bit more quiet time than regular school. And we're talking one day in one of our bonding sessions, and the teacher is like, we can try groundnut oil. And we did. And to be honest, we've even done our second batch of groundnut oil. As you can see on the slide, we even have a name for it now. And it can support our sustainability, being low cost, and even maybe support scholarship in future. So I'll say that schools, we need to be open and we need to think outside this box that everybody talks about. Another thing we are thinking about, because you have more time with the Nigerian, like Ms. Bango said, the Nigerian curriculum, we also don't consider it not robust enough. So we took the Nigerian curriculum, and we also looked at other curriculums around the world, the British curriculum and all that, and even the gaps in Nigeria as a country and in Africa, and we infuse different things into it. So now that we are spending a lot of time with this curriculum, we are doing videos, we're not letting it stop there. We are saying, you know what, we can merge phonics, we can create our books for phonics, reading books, and we can publish it. We are spending a lot of time on videos. Bring phonics, bring some proverbs, like some Nigerian proverbs and lessons from it, write books and publish. You know, we are not going to sit at home and just do nothing. Schools can publish reading books that are relevant for their classes, relevant to their children at this moment. Another thing is video content. So around how can we maximize this video content? Because to be honest, it's fantastic work the teachers are doing. And they're going to do a lot more in August. And it is, you know, for the nursery school, these are the learning outcomes, and we are doing videos, and they are very good videos. Online on YouTube, you will see different teachers, mostly outside the country, doing circle time, and they are very engaging. So what can we do that is relevant for our continent and for children here? So that's another thing we are spending time about and thinking on publishing. And yeah, the pictures you see here, picture from winning the Union Bank 250,000 Naira was the gifts that we got. And I think this season it will help somebody. And just to say, like these friends of Professor Shibajo, we don't know anybody. We are just regular people, young, passionate about the country and wanting change. We think education is a tool for transformation, for transformation and for poverty reduction and all that. So we just saw we got the information that is also good to be connected, and we are happy to share this information going forward with a lot more people. Write a one-pager to say what you would do with 1 million Naira if you were given in your school. And to the glory of God, we wrote a one-pager, and the friends of Professor Shibajo, maybe on his birthday or something, I think they gave about 100 businesses 1 million Naira, and that money came during this COVID season. So those things help augment. So you need someone in your school that is thinking about other sources of income in addition to tuition. So that's about that. So what are the plans for September and the plans for going forward if the lockdown remains? If the lockdown doesn't remain, we're all excited, everybody will be happy, but oh yes, like Mrs. Bangwell said, safety measures. So those safety measures automatically even means additional costs, that is, which we can talk about. But, early resumption of teachers in August for video recordings. We are happy to do more recordings because at primary and nursery level, we find that we're going to do those worksheets that are working because they're actually engaging the children. They're making them remember their fun things, their relevant things. But I like to be upfront to say that we must be realistic on the outcomes that we can achieve for younger children. It is possible that maybe they won't be able to achieve as fast with writing goals like it would have been when they were in school. So say children that are in nursery school that are still learning to write their letters, and it is okay. But guess what? They can achieve other things in PSCD, in social studies, in science. Children can learn for upper nursery during the period. I hope I'm back because a call came in.
You're back.
Okay, cool. Because these teachers, going forward as well, e-learning, like I said, we need to sit down with our parents and say, this thing is an investment. It is a reality. It is what wide. We are doing the hello. Okay, so I'm back. I need to be faster now. So we're going to sit down with our parents. We're going to engage them more, and we would make them see that there is no shortcut. Actually, some parents can actually afford it.
We're not hearing you. Okay, it looks like, let me unmute. It looks like Fumi, are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sorry, network.
Yes, network. And a call was trying to come in.
No way.
I can try to share my screen again, or I can go on here. So I'm trying to share my screen. Sorry. So yes. So going forward, like I said, I'm going to share my screen, but I want to just go on. We are continuing the informal conversations with parents, yes, and letting them know the need is an investment. So let's plan towards this device against September. Because whether or not schools open, learning would continue, and we even want to make it more structured. So we're going to, from July, we are starting to actively engage and do enlightenment with parents and share the importance for it. But there are some parents that will still not be able to afford it. And for those parents, we are planning to scout for partners, like we already do for our scholarship program, that can support digital devices for less able parents that cannot afford it. So we're going to scout for partners that can support their digital devices financially. But we're not just going to dash the parents. So even the parents say on full scholarship, and these are cleaners, these are people that maybe like vulcanizers, children, those kind of people. We have a couple of them. We would give it to them, or it will be solely for learning. We'll lock it. We have that plan, but we'll scout for support because that is a reality. That said, we would continue our work packages, videos, talking books. We'll start using Khan Academy kids more actively. And there is something that we also do. We hope we are in line with the guidelines. But sometimes when we see a child is not engaging enough, either on the phone or based on the assessment, or when we are working around, we tell their parents, when you are coming to school on Monday, just come along with your child. Right in front of the school building or school gates, we ask the child specific questions. And sometimes it's even motivational for the child to just come in front of the school and go back home. Like I said, we're in an estate, we are within a region, so it's easy for parents to move around, bring the child and take them back. So we are thinking of something like a walkthrough assessment, if need be, like we're already doing. Children don't come in, there's no contact, but just to ask some salient questions to see that learning is taking place. We would also start in September. We are starting the information drive now, but from September, we would start an optional 10 minutes Google Meet or Zoom. We have not done it at all, but we need parents in low-income communities to also dream. So the parents that can join will join. Those that can't and genuinely can't, like we have the scholarship fund, we would work a program with you. But we want an education that is relevant for Nigeria, for PJ, as well as America. But we understand that we have to face it for these people. But we will not give the same excuses that we gave in January or in March. We don't want to give those same excuses, whether school resumes in September or in January 2021. So we are actively working with parents, talking to them a lot more to see that instead of having your children run around, we'll do the worksheets, we'll do a lot of videos that where learning outcomes can be achieved from a distance, like we are doing, and keep them fun. And we are learning in the process. That's what our journey has been in the last few months. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fumi, for sharing with us. We're so grateful for all that you shared. It was very practical and very, very engaging, so we're grateful. So we want to go into the Q&A straight. So I'll just ask Fumi and Irene if you can unmute yourselves. So we have a few different questions here. So the first question I want to ask for both of you, I know Fumi touched on this a bit, so you can add if you feel like you left something out. But in terms of your workforce, someone is asking, how were you able to pay your staff before COVID? And then how are you also able to pay them now? So thinking about before COVID, how do you pay your staff? And then also now, how do you do that? So if one of you wants to address that first, Irene, if you want to address that first, and then Fumi.
All right, thank you so much for the question. Okay, so I've learned so much even just listening to Fumi. Thing is, sometimes our heads are too buried in the school that we don't realize there are other opportunities out there. But when we started like a crowdsourcing school. So first and foremost, 30th June last year, we did a public video asking people to donate to us. So we are really big on social media. We did a public video asking people to donate to us and be a part of KNOSK starters. We call the people KNOSK starters people who were willing to give us money to start, all right? And then when we were done with that phase, we came out again and said, all right, school is set up, here are the pictures, here is where we are. We've admitted 30 children. We now need people to co-sponsor them. So between June last year and December, we might have raised about 5 million, 6 million from the Nigerian public. Yes, so Nigerians, so far we've not gotten any grant. We've been funded by Nigerians, for Nigerians, from the pocket of Nigerians, and it's been amazing. Because usually you would not believe that there's support out there. In fact, we have had schools, private schools support us. So during the lockdown, Ladella schools here in Abuja sent food baskets to 15 parents in our school. So what am I saying? Partnership, we've done a lot of partnership. We've done a lot of collaboration. We have the passion, the people that have the money. They just need to be able to trust us and see that we are doing what we promised with the resources that they give to us. And I would say this would not be possible without God. I mean, it's been amazing. One of the ACSI executives is on our board. She's been amazing. So people have come out to give us individual donations, all right? But here's what we did when we started. We had to design an employment model that we could sustain. Our funding is not predictable. We don't have any high-paying parents, all right? Our cost of education is 66,000 naira per term. We have one parent who pays 20,000. The rest, maybe 5, pay 10,000. The rest pay 3Ks. The rest pay 6,000. So what does that tell you? We really need to go out there to look for people who can partner to keep those kids in school. It's the reason we don't do fee drive. We don't do fee drive because it's not their parents' money that keeps them in school. But one thing we did to also sustain whatever income came was that we have a team of permanent staff, then we have corpers. We have a team of permanent staff, then we have corpers. We did a lot with corpers, but like subjects like math, English, those are stronger subjects that are done by permanent staff. That way our wage bill is manageable. And then during the lockdown, when we started the workbook project, we went out and asked people to co-sponsor a child to get workbooks. And we had 15 people support 15 children, which kind of, the fundraising is ongoing for us. So at the KNOSK school, we fundraise every single day. And the social media that we have, so we are on Facebook, we're on social media, we're in the faces of young entrepreneurs, because for us, we're looking at, it's on our generation to do this. So we're looking for young business owners, and they're coming out to say, oh, we want to work with you. And we don't discriminate whatever amount they give to us. In fact, we've also had celebrities lean into us. We've had a comedian go on Twitter and ask people to partner with him to donate to us. We've had individuals who are not known say, Irene, we call it starting a crowd. So we get people and say, do you want to start a crowd for us? So these people will go talk to 3, 4, 5 friends, they'll contribute something, they'll donate, and they will name it their crowd. So we try to bring in the fun element for the people giving. So this is what we've done so far. During the lockdown was a bit tight for us, but what we did at the onset, we're able to give our teachers hampers. We didn't work for some time because workbook means we can actually work from home without coming. And then our corpers started passing out. So that helped a bit with the burden of salaries, but we are all getting ready to do fresh recruitment again, and we're back again fundraising. But we're also about to launch our annual fundraiser. We do an annual, we're going to be doing an annual fundraiser for like a 6-week period where we're on a marathon fundraising. So we're fundraising, and we have public-private schools that can afford to contributing. We've had private schools, Irene, I have tables, I have seats. So we're actually passionate about collaborations, partnerships, but something we've not explored much. You know, something happened last week. I was in the office to record the video for Union Rice Challenge. And something just told me, go online and check, and they were done. And I wanted to faint because I knew that was an opportunity. And when I saw friends of Prof, because they keep calling it business and corporate, I kind of counted us out. But now Fumi is telling me, no, you step in there, you have to show up. So it's been a big learning for me to see that we have to show up. So that's it for us. So people that care about, so if you run a local school, you can't do this wonderful thing and hope that people know. You have to talk about it. You have to take the word out. You have to get people to know what you're doing, because there are people in your community that can help you, but you have to show up and tell them, I'm ready to be helped. I will have an opportunity for you to help. And social media is a friend. Social media is a friend. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Fumi, go ahead if you want to add something.
Yeah, I'll just add something little. So, in fact, it's interesting. You would have thought that I spoke with Mrs. Bangor before now, because we too, like most of our funding, the big chunk of it, and we've gotten, like she said, maybe we've got about 3.5, like that chunk of money from individual Nigerians at different, all together when we were starting up. And you know what? If a local school, like she said, you need to show up. Some people say, please, I want to donate a fan. Please, I want to donate solar, a panel for solar. You need to engage. You need to engage. And social media, she had just said it all, You can't want to, because education is expensive. That's the truth. So to the extent that you can find partners, and, it's even fantastic when they are Nigerians. But also, this season, we're also writing proposals, with the former NGO we talked about is the Nigerian NGO, but some people will say, come, there's this international NGO that wants to do something.
Yes.
Can your school partner with us? And we are open to that. So we need to, as school owners, also think, like business owners, or just think outside the box. I think Mrs. Bango has captured it all. Yes.
Thanks so much, Fumi and Irene. So the next question we have here is, how do we address ICT training for staff? So what have you been able to do during this period to equip your staff with ICT skills during this period?
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we didn't need to train staff for ICT. The vision for the KNOSK school is to plant the school in 10,000 communities in Africa. So what that means is that from the get-go, everything we do must be able to be replicated. So right now on my laptop, I have a folder starting a KNOSK school. So from the get-go, our lesson plans, our curriculum is on Google Slides and Google Sheets, and everything was on tech. But what we didn't do is how to bring technology into the classroom. We had the projector, we showed the videos, but this Zoom classes now, this Google Classroom, putting your lessons online was not something we needed to do, right? But this opportunity has made us know that we need to expand. So we didn't even have a problem with technology. Our teachers were very fluent, but we're fluent with the administrative part of using technology for your work. But now we're saying you need to create for the student, because our kids, in fact, when we did a random test, out of the 30 students in our school, maybe 5 parents have smartphones, maybe 3 buy data regularly. So there wasn't even that conversation. But when Fumi was talking today, she said something. She said, we're going to talk with the parents. I can't do September tablets with my teachers, with my parents. They won't be able to afford it. I can't add it to my wage bill at this time, the money I'm trying to raise now. But I can tell my parents that we're going to start a funding program where we put aside money on a monthly basis between now and next September, that everybody needs to be on a device. But what we're going to do to really excite them is to start the in-school technology. Hopefully, even if school resumes in September, in January, okay? When school resumes, we want the children to have a feel of technology, enough to be able to get their parents to find a way to put aside money, even if it's 1,000 naira every month, then we know that as usual, we will more co-sponsors. So if we want to buy 30,000 naira devices, if their parents bring 12,000, I think they've come somewhere, and then we can crowdsource the rest to meet up. But the truth is, Mrs. Bankole said this to me 3 weeks ago. She said, Irene, I really love these workbooks, but technology, your technology has to start. And she said it because she saw the KNOSK school when it was an idea, and the idea was on an app. So, but the funding made us slow down. But now, Fumi has said, talk to them, let them plan for it. This has to be built into the system and all. So yes, I am all for it, but I want us to have like a prototype. Let the kids experience our online school as the KNOSK, and let them have something that is interacting with all their learning styles, is engaging for them, and they can go back home and tell their mommy, we're going to get Kolo and be piggy banks and be putting away money for my tablet in September, something like that. So I'm really inspired to know that was a good idea, and I really look forward to it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much. Fumi, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I'll say for our teachers, young, passionate, dynamic teachers, but just for share Nigerian education system or exposure, they've needed training. And one of the things, the 1 million we got from Friends of Prof helped us do was to invest a bit more in technology. So yes, we've been deliberate during this season. Teachers have access to, we have more laptops now, we have more internet, everybody's trying Zoom, we also got like a tab, we got a bit of technology and everybody's trying it out. Everybody's learning how to edit videos. So it's this season actually that we had invested, we used the season, and I think it's part of the slide somewhere, that we invested a lot in ICT. You must know the Microsoft Office, you must know how to use Google Classroom, whether or not parents are there yet, we must know how to edit videos by ourselves. And yeah, that's where we are. And like I said, and Mrs. Bangle collaborated the fact, we are facing it. So we are facing it. But parents need to first know that no, we don't have money for data, we don't have money for tablets. That's not the way to go, because this is a reality and we'll solve the problem together.
Thanks so much, Fumi. So another question we have from the director of ACSI Nigeria, she says, can I have some groundnut oil in Lagos? So Fumi,
yes! Yes!
That's fantastic.
Good evening.
That's fantastic.
Oh, you have samples. Now I have my video. You can see we don't have them branded yet, but we have some samples we made, our first samples, more coming up. Fresh ground.
Please, I want to say something.
State. That's awesome. So
I wanted to say something, please.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So for me, that is really fantastic, because we thought about creating products. And then during the lockdown, one of my staff said that we should go bake cakes. And I said, for God's sake, when last did you buy a cake? Let's make something that this is not where you're doing anything grand. Just make sure you're producing that's something you don't require too much effort to market. So as you have started, you come and do business training for us, because we want to produce something and we want to sell something. I don't know if it will be water. I've thought about bread, but we're going to produce something because we know that it's not every time that the donations will come in the way you want. So it's more stable to have a business that you can kind of depend on, that people that will even patronize the business for the sole purpose of other things that the business's money makes happen. So congratulations on your oil. You need to do business masterclass for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Irene and Fumi. So another question, Fumi, that you can address is somebody is asking, what is Khan Academy about? So if you could just give a brief overview of what that kit is about.
Okay, it's an interactive app for children in nursery school and grade 1. And they have covered, and it is animated as well. They've covered most of the learning areas in science, reading, even writing. So it's like fun ways of teaching phonics, reading, writing. You have books where the app will be reading it for you. A teacher can actually create their classroom. You can give children assignments, and it is free, because Khan Academy got a grant, I think of about $1 million to do that for free. So I think it's a fantastic tool to go to. So it's just an app that facilitates learning in an interactive way. So the children know how they are progressing. The teachers can evaluate the progress of the child and give like homework and follow the journey, track the journey, learning journey of the children. And it's just like on Android, you go to Google Play Store. If you type Khan Academy Kids, you would be able to navigate your way through it. It comes at no cost, but the parents that are going to engage it have to have data. That's the thing. But it's a very good and interactive and engaging tool for nursery children, because we started it even before some of our children left. We used to give the app, especially after school, to some kids.
Awesome, thanks, Fumi. So another question we have here, somebody is asking about e-learning platforms like Zoom and Google Meet, if they're free. So Google Classroom is free. There is a Zoom. You can buy different packages in Zoom, so it does come at a cost, but there is a free Zoom package also. So that's that question. Then somebody else is asking about, in terms of NGOs, do NGOs support private schools that are not titled low income? Or what is the criteria for being a low income school in order to qualify for some of these grants or money from NGOs. I don't know if you have any insight into that, Fumi or Irene.
Fumi, you go first. I'll go afterwards.
Yes, I would say that it depends. So a private school that is not even low cost can provide some education consulting service for an NGO. So some NGOs, you want to do an education project, and there are big private schools that consult for NGOs, and they will pay you as a school to provide the educational learning program. That is one thing you can do, and you will earn money for, as a consulting organization or as a school that is consulting for an NGO for an education program. But if you call yourself a low-cost school, or if you want a grant for your school, then you must be able to justify it. Like for the Friends of Prof, for example, they didn't ask for your financial. They were just going to support entrepreneurs. They didn't even ask, are you low-cost? Like, there was an age limit, I think, to Friends of Prof, but just show clearly how you're going to use 1 million naira if they give it to you, and what you have done in the past with it. So it depends on how you package it. I don't know, it's just, so if some NGOs will ask for your financials to see that you're really NGOs. They will track your school fees. Some NGOs have guidelines, $100. There are different definitions for that. But I think if you have a service, there's a reason why you want to be funded, and it must be clear. Your message must be clear. They are not just looking for where to throw money around. The need must be clear, whether it's for you or whether it's for you to do a project somewhere else. So different NGOs, different grants have different guidelines. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Fumi. Go ahead, Irene. All right, Fumi has really captured it well. So let me just share this. We had one of the things we've been able to do with the KNOSK school is that we go for conferences, and we write to people hosting big conferences, and we ask them to give us a free stand, and we get those free stand, and we put KNOSK in people's faces, okay? And so one time we were at this event, and we had some Nigerians in diaspora come for the event. And in order for them to fund us, they needed to know what the parents in our school earn. Because they want to know your low-cost school. What's the salary? What's the amount of money that families in your school are living on? Because they want to be able to justify why they're giving to you. So even for us that are low-cost school, we still have explanations to offer. However, if a private school designs a program, let's say a private school decided to start a recycling project, climate change project, but you have to take it outside of your school. You want to go around several schools and run this campaign and produce booklets for it and produce videos for it, videos that can be put on YouTube or somewhere else that other people can download. So here's the thing, in order for you to get a grant, you have to offer social service. So you need to find a way. As a private school, you can offer social service. You can design solutions and present it to an organization, but many times you have to think beyond your own school. You have to think about other people in the process. So yes, there would be grants available to private schools if they are offering a social service that goes beyond their own. So if you said, I want to go and bring in the children in the community near us, I want to sponsor them to come into my school, you might find people that are willing to do that, even though many times they would say, well, you're a private school, where are you doing your CSR? So I always recommend social service. Do some things, do a social service, take it to a public school, include other local schools, and the conversation would be easier to have.
If you can answer this question quickly, somebody's asking, how do you handle resistant parents now, but then also looking forward to the resumption in September?
Can you come again? I didn't hear you.
Okay, how do you handle resistant parents?
Okay, let me go first. How do we handle resistant parents? We communicate. I think that's one of the best things we can do. So we try to communicate a lot with the parents and explain the why. And our posture, we try to keep it humble. I would say communication, but the decision at the end is, and the value that we are adding, most of our parents are excited. Some of them will tell us, and we know for us, money is not the first point in the conversation. But if you can make the sacrifice, you should know the importance of investment in learning. So if you're resistant, it's communication consistent. We are happy and humble to have a long conversation with you to explain our whys and explain our whys. I think that is what we would do. That's what we've been doing. And yeah, communication. And that's what we've done. But you know, and all these programs, they are optional, especially during this COVID era. It's not compulsory. So all parents are not signed up, and it is fine. So we still see other parents that are not signed up. We care about them. Sometimes, like for the classes, whether or not you're on the program, we say to the parents, what are you doing? You know, these are learning objectives for the month. We share that information. So it's not so much you are paying, so you're part of the program, you're not part. No, you can facilitate learning at home, it's okay. But, you know, and these are the objectives. They know that we absolutely love the children, and it is the overall holistic development of the children, spiritual, literacy, numeracy. So they first, I don't think for our parents, they doubt our genuine interest in the children. So if you can afford it, it's a different conversation. But they are dissenting parents, I'll be resistant. But this particular program, COVID program, optional. How do we solve it generally? Communication. That's what we do. Just communication.
Thanks, Fumi. Irene, do you have anything to add?
Well, we have a unique way our school is structured now. So first and foremost, our parents know that their money doesn't keep their kids in school. So to an extent, we've taken out some friction areas. They know that we're there in the best interest of their children, and in many cases, they feel like, oh, these guys have come to make a real difference to us. But here's the catch: we tell them that we cannot expel children. We can't send children away from school because they didn't pay fees, but we can withdraw kids because they don't show commitment. So we are like, it takes us a lot to be able to do this. So you have to meet us the other way. So our workbooks designed for 30 kids, the first issue was picked up completely. And there were these 2 kids I thought wouldn't come. These kids that every little thing, they're not feeling well, they can't make it to school. Oh, they were sick, they didn't come for 2 days. So before we went on the vacation, I called one of them and said, look, you're a girl, you need education, but if you won't place value, if you won't meet us halfway the way we are, we're going to have a meeting with your parents, talk about continuing this relationship, okay? But done in a loving way anyway, because one of the things I hope the girls in that school get is that girl-child education is their right, but they must maximize it. To my shock, that girl was the second person that picked up her workbook. So one of the things we've seen is we've been able to say, individuals are taking out of their monies to keep you in school. The least you can do is meet us halfway. So one of the things we also do, like Fumi said, there's a lot of conversations going on. We're meeting with the parents. In fact, by the time we started the workbooks, the parents were eager for what we would do for them. And then we asked them to pay those their 100 naira a day, contribute to the workbook process. But then we told them you can do it instrumentally. And one of the things I know with these parents, when you don't make it, you must do it like this. When you give people that option and flexibility, because you understand that things are not okay everywhere, they kind of see that you respect them, you're making consideration, you're considerate of them, and somehow they meet you along the way. So there were parents that we said, try to pay this 6,000 in 3 installments. And we had parents that say, no, I won't pay it in 6 installments. I'm going to do everything I can because I know how it is now, and I'm going to be able to pay. There are not many though, but we should thank those of them that feel that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Irene. So the last question, people are asking if you'd be willing to share your contact information. So if you're willing, either your social media channels, your emails, your phone numbers, whatever, just put it in the chat so people can contact you directly. Whatever you feel comfortable with sharing, that can go in the chat box so people have access to that. So we want to go ahead and end the webinar. Irene and Fumi, thank you so much for sharing the knowledge that you have and the experiences that you have with us. We are so grateful, and I know it's been very impactful for all of us that are here. And thank you just for being the hands and feet of Jesus in low-income communities and for children that are marginalized and don't have access to quality education. So we really are grateful for the work you're doing.